Welcome to Shrimperscast with me, Bernie Friend, for another full-length special interview. This time, it's my trip to the sunny Costa del Crouch to speak with legendary blues striker David Crown about his long career from Brentford to Blues and the Gills. Probably the only man in history who can talk more than me. So get settled with a cup of tea or something much stronger. Well, here we are in the sunny Costa del Holbridge. I'm here with David Crown. Thanks very much for joining us today, Dave, and inviting us around for the podcast. As well as being a Southend legend, Dave, and being the host of the Legends Lounge on a Rootsall match day, you're an accountant by trade, which means you're good with numbers, which you'd expect from a striker. Couldn't you have offered Ron some advice on his tax return?
Well, you mentioned about me being a matchday host at Southend United. I've done that for 20 years, so my role there prevents me from probably saying the things that I'd like to say. But what I would say regarding Southend United, as long as the supporters of Southend are phenomenal, it's a great football club, and as long as the supporters of Southend United keep behind Kev and the team, and keep giving them, or the club, their hard-earned money, we will get through this. We will. It's tough at the moment. The last 3 years have been extremely tough. But the measure is with it comes out with the football pyramid, and it's Luton Town. That's what, I'm not suggesting that we are going to become a Premier League club in a few years' time. But if you get things right, the club will progress. Yeah,
I think that's something that Kev and I touched on the other day, Kevin Mayo, when we spoke in the first podcast about, you look at Luton, who funnily enough went down with Southend the last season they were in the Championship, really? And they had 5 years at conference level. Yeah. And obviously John Steele, who's at the club, was at Luton as well during that period. So it does show what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough at the moment, as you say, but the pyramid, I mean, the downside of the pyramid, how I see it, is if you're going the opposite way, there's no level you can't end up at. But a good buddy of mine, he's a Stockport County supporter, and they went all the way down to the Conference North.
Yeah.
Let's hope that we get it right going forward and we start moving. But, I mean, Newport County, I think, were outside the league for 27 years. So it happens. But I do, to stress the point, I think if the supporters stay with the club, we will bounce back. We will.
I mean, I know you have to be careful what you say, and I don't want to keep pushing, but as an accountant, and just talking in general, I think I've lost count. I think we've had 18 of these winding up orders maybe during the current ownership. I mean, as an accountant who has to do something to deadlines and on time, you must scratch your head when you see what goes on.
Look, there are rules in society. You can't drive at more than 70 mile an hour on a motorway. You have to file accounts. You have to, whether you like it or not. But the football club at one stage was 3 years behind. We're still a year behind. So it baffles me. It really, that aspect of
with your professional hat on,
that aspect absolutely baffles me, because the fines for not filing your accounts at Company's House, and it can be seen if you go on the Company's House website. The fines are for not filing the accounts are, well, let's say they're extremely spiteful now.
Yeah, and it's like at football clubs, Dave.
I've still got me mug, Bernie, with what you bought me with number 9 Crown on there.
That's a be, mate. The legend.
Oh dear! I got described as a former legend, by the way, a while ago. Well, I thought that meant I was dead. But no, I'm still very much.
You're always
alive.
A legend. You can't be a former legend. Let's hope that cup's is it half full or is it flying over?
In my life, it's always half full.
Okay.
I always try, and especially I would say as being a Southend supporter, and that's all I am now. I always try to be positive. One of my mantra: much more easy to be destructive in life than constructive. We just got to look to get through this terrible period And as I say, at 65, I'm 65 years of age.
Oh, stop it.
I know. I got caught out on that a while ago. I announced I was 65 and somebody said to me, well, you don't look it, David. Mind you must have done 10 years ago. And so, you know, things do change in life. I think that you realise that, and you do start looking at things like, as you get a bit older, what legacy you're leaving. So
You've left a good one, mate.
well, I've been very. I don't moan about life, or try not to. Carol in there might say differently, but I've got two great kids. They've both made excellent choices with their partners. Got two granddaughters. Everything seems to be two in my life. Two wives, or no, an ex-wife and a current beloved. And I've had two great careers as a footballer now, and I think I've been blessed to have two professional careers.
Yes, you have. Very much so. Back to the club.
Especially having to do your beloved's tax return as
Thank
well.
you very much. Thank you. Back to the club, and obviously being still involved, you do have an ear to the ground, you know, an insight on what's going on. Have you heard much more about the takeover, or this any takeovers, or this Justin Rees? Do you know anything about this mystery Australian gentleman?
Yeah, I know. Well, I know that. I mean, I've seen all the photos. I've been on the websites. I do know. I mean, I've got a friend at the golf club, and his son is out in Australia. In fact, he was vying for the same job in recruitment as Spencer Pryor.
Our old centre half, yeah.
Yeah, and he's actually been on the text to him, and Mark, the lad Mark Barnes, he showed me the text that
from this Justin Rees, yeah.
to Mark Barnes' son. But again, you know, in these situations, everybody has to be very, very careful what they say and all of these sorts of things, and don't want to. I know the supporters, and as I say, to repeat myself, I'm just a supporter. I would love to get it.
Everyone's looking for a bit of hope, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. You know, but. If I do touch, just remind me, you've seen our dog. I'd never even thought of it. We've got a dog and we've called him Ronnie. Obviously, you were the one that picked up with Ron.
Well, he's blonde as well. So,
yeah, that's it. But, yeah, I would suggest that the negotiations with Ron could be tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the next question I was going to ask you, Dave. Do you, and this to me is the biggest question in the whole thing, does Ron genuinely want to sell the club?
I would have to assume so, yes. I would have to. Look, I touched on it a while ago. I'm 65, you know, Ron is a few years older than me. I think he's 70. And you talk about legacies. Would you want this amount of heartache in your life? Would you want... Look, my beloved Carol, she knows nothing about football. She don't want to know anything about football. We always laugh and joke. If Chelsea were playing in our back garden, she'd pull the curtains. But I'm damn sure if people were parked outside our house, she would want that. Do you need all that in your life?
Yeah, I mean, for however thick a skin Ron has got, for him and his family to have people standing outside your house protesting, people bibbing, to be having to employ security guards to be outside your house 24/7, that's got to take its toll, as well as all the other stresses of the club and the finances and everything else.
I think the only answer to that is yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's also obviously Ron and his family.
Yeah. And as you say, not easy to negotiate with Ron, these people that are out there. I mean, I know from my experiences talking to managers where they've tried to sell a player and the deal's done, then Ron's got involved and it hasn't happened. He does like to move the goalposts a little bit.
Well, again, I've not got many personal dealings with Ron on that, but I could imagine that you're correct.
Okay.
I've got my diplomatic head on
there. No,
mate,
I totally get it. I totally get it. I think something I touched on with you.
One thing that I did want to say, it was great to see you and your son Evan come to football on Saturday.
It was great. And thank you so much. He loved it.
And it was even better news that he got his mother's looks, not his father's.
Oh, thank you. I won't tell him that. Thank you.
No,
But,
great kid.
No,
Great
he loved it. And do you know what? In fact, he loved you inviting him into that Legends Lounge. And it made him feel really special to be sat down with Frankie talking to him about school and his own football stuff as well.
Frankie Banks, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's brilliant as well. And he does much more of the work now. I just seem to take a back seat and... He gets all the quizzes organised. We have a great time, albeit that at the moment, you know, particularly on the corporate side, the lounges are not busy. A lot of it is obviously school holidays. But let's hope that as we get into the season and we start getting a few more wins under our belt, that side will pick up.
Because the support, more money in the tills as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And because the support to be getting what we've been through the last, as I say, well, basically since COVID. To be the punters of Southend to be coming out in their numbers like 5,000 and 6,000.
When we know people are staying away as well, and it's still at that level, great crowds.
I would never ever criticise anybody for making a decision, but to stay away as well. But if it's your club, you want to be there, you want to support it. I don't quite get that. I understand people are doing that, and you know, in life you make your own decisions, as I've had to in my life, and. You know, but yeah, the support has been phenomenal, and like you can see when we start. Look, what was it? How many was the last game of the season? Wealdstone, over 8,000 for a game, and then I know there's always a factor of end of the season. Like a lot of people like to be there, but it just shows that what I say. It's a great football.
You say that, but a lot of people like to be at the beach at that time of year as well, because that can affect it. So that's a great crowd.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's a great crowd.
Yeah,
right. I just wanted to also ask something that we spoke about in privately a few months ago. Back to Ron, sorry, we will get off the subject of Ron eventually, but I'm just interested in your insight. He said, you know, he wants to sell the club for £1. He said that, you know, he will then, there's a debt of £2.5 million, but from what we led to believe, it's a lot more than that. And that he will sell Roots Hall as part of that deal, however it's structured, or whether it's over 2 or 3 years or whatever. The thing I can't get my head around, and maybe I've got this wrong, Ron has been holding on here for 25 years since they got involved in 1998. And the key to this has always been the club relocating to Fossett's Farm because it then opens up the property development. And the council, I checked last year, there's still a covenant on Roots Hall at the council that nothing can be built on there until Blues are moved to Fossett's Farm. So you hope it's protected. Obviously, the financial landscape has changed. When this first happened, it was going to be a stadium with retail and a hotel and a cinema. The high streets are dead. You know, that's gone. Now it's the housing, which is probably the best chance it's ever had of happening, because the council are desperate to get affordable housing, whatever you think of the plan. But if he sells Roots Hall to a new buyer, that plan's dead. So that doesn't add up to me, because that has been the game plan from day one for the last 25 years.
Yeah, again, I could only agree 100% with what you say, and the question has to be, if you have to ask it to Ron, sort of thing. But I don't, as you say, definitely because it is such a. I can remember signing in November 1987, and before you started was 1987, not 1887.
I'd already thought of doing that one. You've robbed me there.
But it was November 87, a meeting. Vic Jobson, God rest his soul, and
former chairman.
I had clashes with David Webb, my old manager. He always used to say I was a barrack room lawyer, so perhaps I would always clash with people. I don't believe that, but anyway, I can remember seeing a model of the new stadium then on the boardroom table, and so because it is such a big site, you know, most of the ground, like we touched on Luton. You go to Luton, it's squeezed into houses, etc. There's no parking, or very little parking. It's a massive site at Roots Hall, so it is always going to be there to develop.
Yes.
And most of the lower division grounds are in and around dense housing areas with little or no area to park at Roots. It's a massive, massive site, isn't it? And that is obviously where you know, there has been the aspect for people to get involved in the club to want to develop it. And people say to me that Ron Ron only ever got involved with Southend for the property. Again, that's a question to him. But I do know that when we had the good times, the game against Man United and the Tottenham and the Chelsea
promotions,
and the promotions and the trips to Cardiff and Wembley. I think I know for a fact, walking through the ballroom, he got to love the football side of the club.
Yeah, but
whether he does now that's again for a question for him.
Yeah, but did he love the football side of the club, Dave, or was that a big ego tickle?
I don't. Again, I've got to keep me diplomatic head on, Burn.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah. But I'm glad you touched on Vic Jobson.
Yeah, great.
Because
great,
obviously you've been here. You've been under Vic, who love him or hate him. You've got to say to me, he was the most successful chairman the club ever had, because he delivered championship level football as it is now. And they sustained it for 6 years before dropping back down again. But again, a very divisive character, massive ructions with the fans.
Yes.
Jobson out on the terraces. I think at one time when he was thinking about moving the club to Basildon, you were talking about the plastic model of the stadium. He told fans if they didn't like it to go and watch someone else. I think he even referred to Southend young fans as being like Hitler Youth at one time, allegedly, I'm sure. So massive ructions then. But compare those times when the fans were unhappy then to where we are now. I mean, maybe they didn't realise how lucky they were.
Yeah, I mean, David, again, I've touched on David Webb before. He would always say about Vic that Vic did everything with the best interests of Southend.
He was a football man, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a football man. He really, really was a football man. And that, I can remember David pointing it out to me when we in the old days, we didn't. It was who could get in the bar first after the game, and then you would stop off and have your fish and chips on the way home. And Vic would always go and buy his own fish and chips, because he was doing everything that he thought was right for the club. If he could have that time back, I'm sure that the statement I heard him make, that if you don't like what I'm doing, there are another 91 other clubs to go and support. That was because that doesn't get what a football supporter is about. A football supporter, I think I know a little bit about football now and supporters. For some guys, football is more important to them, or their club is more important to them in anything else in their life. There's a family in the cul-de-sac. They've got Southend support. Or they've taken them down recently. They've had Southend flags in their in their front room window and signs Martin out, and they are football nuts. Southend United, their son used to play in the same same team as my son James, and if it is your club, it's in your blood, and you can't change it. No. And maybe when I decided to make that move to Gillingham, that it wasn't in my blood, but you again make decisions, and you have to abide by those decisions.
And again, I think you're absolutely right. I agree with everything you say. Again, not trying to draw too much, but Vic to me was a football man. The current guy, I don't believe he is. But Vic always seemed to pull something out of the bag. When we were in the Championship for them years, when it was going wrong under Colin Murphy, he got Barry Fry.
Yeah.
When we were dead and buried when Peter Taylor was manager, and I can remember being in the tunnel at Grimsby after we got stuffed 4-1, Steve Thompson was sniffing around.
Yeah.
Never heard of him since he was at Sheffield United. But when we used to, obviously you played against him, and then he suddenly took over as manager and kept us up somehow. He always managed. Yeah. He made them good football decisions, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if you say a chairman takes responsibility as such, made some great signings, Stanley Victor, Colin Moore, those type of people, and brought some great footballers to the club.
Yes, including your fine self, Dave.
Well, yeah, there's a debate. Yeah, but look, I mean, if we get to, I loved every single minute of my time at Southend. Do I regret moving to Gillingham? with hindsight, of course I do, with knowing what I do. But if I was given the same set of circumstances again, I'd have to make the same decision.
We'll talk about that more in the longer version. But I was going to say, we'll get away from the Ron stuff on that. Sorry to keep grilling you.
No.
But it is interesting because you've got an ear to the floor there because you are still in the club.
Yeah.
But again, another time you was at the club after your playing career, you came back to be assistant manager, which we'll go into a bit more detail later with Rob Newman. So you know Kev. You managed Kev, you coached Kev.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Kevin Mayer and why he's the right man for the job at the moment.
Well, obviously the club is in his blood. The first thing that when I went into the first training session where I was, to call me a coach, I was more. I think Rob used to refer to me as his wingman as such. Rob did all the coaching, and then he brought Tilly in. Steve was an unbelievably good coach, and I mean, I always used to say with Steve that, you know, as a coach, whether it was a skill session or a conditioning session, he could do them just as well as all of the players.
Yeah, but he's always kept himself in good shape, didn't he?
Yeah, great man.
Yeah.
And
which he went on to prove as manager, but again,
I mean, on my days then on the assistant manager's side, coach, whatever it was, I was trying to establish my accountancy practice at the same time, and going back, I'll repeat myself. I loved every minute of my time as a footballer, but I didn't really enjoy. I enjoyed the coaching side, but possibly if I look at my life, and possibly I would say that I don't like being criticised, you know. And we were really, that year that I was that first year, or into the second year, we looked like we were going out. We really looked like we were going to get relegated.
Out of the Football League.
Yeah. And I was taking that personally. I didn't want that, shall we say, to be somebody living in the town, etc., as we were, with that. And when Ron, he didn't sack me. I can always remember him calling me into the office because he was obviously trying to. Rob had gone back to up to Norwich where he was living. He was trying to get hold of him and couldn't for some reason get hold of him. But managed. I was local. I went into that, and he decided that he would not renew my contract. And I said, "Well, that's the sack, surely, Ron." He said, "No. It was not renewing. Deciding not to renew my contract." But I felt then that it was the right thing for me to go. Look, I had a year out, and then so that was 2003. I left. Had a year out, and then for the subsequent 20 years, I've obviously served as a match day host, club ambassador, whatever you want to call it, and just can do the only two things I can do now: eat and talk.
Eat and drink and talk.
Eat and drink and talk. And with that, the biscuits are there. You ain't even eaten the biscuit.
But you haven't answered my question.
What was your question? Sorry.
Having coached Kev.
Oh well, yeah.
What makes him the right man for the job? You can have a biscuit if you answer this one.
Yeah, have a biscuit. I have two. No, what I was going to say, about Kevin on the coach. From the other lads used to call him the legend because technically,
even before he'd achieved anything, really.
Yeah, technically, he was superb.
Always.
You know, anything any session that Rob, and then we had Bobby Ferguson used to come in occasionally to help Rob with the coaching. Great coach, great man. Bobby Robson's assistant from the Ipswich days. Yeah. Anything that he set up, Kevin picked up straight away. And some of the stuff that particularly Bobby used to do, like they were quite technical, and even me as a player, all I used to do was shoot, and then when they were off target, I'd apologise afterwards. Well, I thought it was on that shot from that goal kick, but that sort of thing. But like it would set up real technical sessions, and Kevin could get them all of the time. The biggest compliment that I can pay Kev probably is that when he first came there, the crowd were on his back.
Tough time. Very young. Tough time.
I mean, he's come from a big club at Tottenham, come in, and he turned everybody's opinion round.
Yes. And like you said, and I think I spoke to him about this the other day, players that have played at a high level that was sort of being shipped in and out of the club on loan, like the Neville Southalls, the Richard Jobsons. Everyone used to sing his praises, and what you've just said, which you can see if you know football, about how great technically he was. And even when he was struggling, as a 21-year-old kid coming into a side nosediving back to the bottom division from the second tier in successive seasons, you could see he had something special about him. And I think I said to him the other day, he probably played his best football for us in the Championship because it suited him.
Yeah.
We probably weren't playing the right football for him when he first came.
Well, and you can see, I think we've spoken about this. The way we currently play is a mirror image of Kevin as a player. We keep but you could like Kev. I always laugh and joke and say like Kev Miley is exactly the same player as Kevin was, albeit he's all left-sided and Kevin was right-sided. Don't believe that Kev ever scored a goal like Kev Miley did against Torquay, but
and get their foot in like he could do as well. He could do both sides, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could do the dirty part of the job as well.
Yeah.
But just a great lad. He's got a great family, lovely wife, and 3 great kids, and hopefully
grounded.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that got to me when I spoke to him in the interview in the last podcast was articulate, intelligent, very humble.
Surprised about
no,
football?
not at all. But when you spend a long time, whenever I've interviewed him, it's like 10 minutes in a tunnel somewhere, on the phone somewhere.
Yeah.
Actually sitting down for an hour and a half with him, very articulate, very intelligent, very humble, no ego, proper fella, and I tell you what really,
and to be doing the
very
job
protective of the club.
Yeah, and what it must be one tough job because I speak to him. Usually of every home game, I will always go and say hello. I'll obviously ask him whether I've been selected that day, and I'll generally be...
To be fair, mate, one of these weeks he's going to take you up on it.
Well, no, I'm asking too much appearance money at the moment. But no, he regularly says to me, no, you're surplus to requirements, David, a bit like I am indoors.
Lets you down gently.
Yeah. Even Mark Bentley actually said to me I was quite close this last weekend. And I get on work very well with Darren Curry, a fellow DC, and... it's just we have got the good thing that we've got with 15 or 16 players. What he has managed to do is to engender a siege mentality, and the players know each other. Obviously, we played Oldham the football this year. We've had 4 home games. They've been brilliant, and albeit I thought we played a good Hartlepool side that I'm sure are going to be up there. But the measure is, with what is going on in the club, nobody wants to. It's very tough when you lose at home. But the boys got, and rightly so, got cheered off against Hartlepool because I think everybody from the outside can see they're doing their best at this level of football. I always sort of say, like, as long as you are, people will have technical deficiencies. That's why they're playing in the lower division stroke non-league football. But as long as the supporters can see that they're giving their all, and every single player you can quite clearly see is giving their all for the club and the supporters and for Kev.
Absolutely, totally agree. Okay, Dave, so we'll have a little look back at your career now. You were
how long we got?
Yeah, I know. You were a late developer.
Yes.
Obviously did the non-league circuit, Grays, Walthamstow Avenue, and then turned pro at 22 in 3rd Division Brentford coming through, 1980.
Yeah, there was Fred Callaghan had managed in the non-leagues for Woking, got the Brentford job, and he took 3 lads out of non-league. Myself, Terry Erlock, and the lad that will always be known as Gasping, Gary Roberts, because obviously, Fred always used to take you for a drink, and you're a fresh face out of non-league, and wanting to make it big in the programme, he'd always take you to a pub for a drink. I went to the Tower Hotel.
Well, there's 4 on the corner of Griffin Park. Each corner, so he's doing all right, wasn't you? Yeah.
He took Gary to one of those 4 pubs and said, "Oh, would you like a drink?" Expecting him to turn around and say, "Yeah, I'll have an orange juice." And Gary went, "Yeah, I'm gasping for a lager, Fred." So he was always known as Gasping. And then obviously as well, Terry was just...
Yeah, let's touch on Terry Erlock, because younger viewers may not be aware, but Terry Erlock is one of the, massive, after Brentford, massive Millwall cult hero. Epitomised the club, how he was, hard as nails, the long hair, looked like a,
there was more to Terry than that. He wasn't just a thug.
No, he could play. He could play.
He was similar to what we were talking about with Kevin. But he could absolute play. And we once got hold of his passport. He'd been at West Ham as a boy. We once got hold of his passport photo, and he had an angelic-looking kid. He looked totally different when he, with the beard and earring. And
the long, and he looked like he was chiselled out of granite, didn't he?
He had a house opposite the ground, and he was always battling his way. And he'd turn up at, say, 12:30, 1 o'clock for the game. He'd be out there with a sweat bag on, trying to lose weight and that sort of thing. But he was just a great player. He was a great lad to have. Always remember, like when played for Brentford away at Portsmouth. He'd only been there a week, and they had a sort of barrel-chested fella in the middle of midfield called Joe Laidlaw, Portsmouth. And they had a free kick. I was in the wall. And those were the days you could kick the ball away and get away with it. And I kicked the ball away, and this Joe Laidlaw come at me, and I thought, oh, dear me. Because as Carol would tell you, I'm a lover, not a fighter. And he stepped. Terry just stepped in the middle, and Joe Laidlaw certainly backed.
Shrunk a little bit, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, he was hard. I mean, I wouldn't have fancied a 50-50 with him in training, Dave.
No. Well, he just had some sort of he was just a great lad. Had some great one-liners, Terry. One time, like talking about, he was quite bow-legged, and I always remember saying, "Well, I couldn't stop a pig in a passage, me."
And he loved the toilet roll, didn't he?
Well, yeah, there were. There were these stories that obviously, because he had a house opposite the ground, they put him in one of the houses opposite the ground. If he did run short of toilet rolls, they reckon he would charge over to the toilets at the ground and terrible word, borrow a few.
These days he'd be flogging them on eBay, wouldn't he?
These days,
yeah.
When we played at that level, they playing at that level now, like playing at Glasgow Rangers, he'd be made for life. Understanding now, wherever he is, Terry, send best wishes, and I believe he works for the RMT.
That's correct. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because one of the great things about Terry is obviously he grew up at West Ham as a boy, and obviously massive rivalry between West Ham and Millwall. And because he was that good a player, he turned the Millwall supporters onto his side. And
led them to the top flight in that famous team for 2 seasons.
Cascarino,
and Sheringham. So, another game there that I managed to put the old cobwebs to one side and look for the archives was when you played, if I've got this pronounced the pronunciation wrong, please let me know, San Jose Earthquakes, a friendly.
Oh, right.
With George Best, you played against George Best.
Yeah, I can remember his wife coming into the dressing room and toweling him and drying him after his shower, etc. And, yeah.
Bringing him in?
No, we're not going near that. No, don't go near that.
I think you won about 8-0 as well, didn't you? Did you notch?
Probably.
Don't make out you don't realise. Strikers always remember.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but you were a winger more in those days. So 53 appearances and 10 goals for Brentford.
Yeah.
And then you talk about Terry Earlock being set for life after playing for big clubs like Rangers. You got traded in for Lionel Richie, mate, when you went to Portsmouth. So you must have made a few quid.
I wonder what happened to Chris Kamara. Every time I switched the telly on, we had my two best games at Fratton Park for Brentford at Portsmouth. And they signed me on the basis, or wanted to sign me on the basis of those. They thought I was that good. I soon proved that I wasn't that good. But they traded me for Chris. They didn't have any money to buy me, and they gave Portsmouth wanted me. They gave Brentford the choice of a few players, and they opted for Chris Kamara, and he went on, and again another lovely man, gone on to have a great career. And I understand he's having a few illness issues, so I wish him well.
Okay.
And there's the story. Look, I've still got family in Portsmouth. My ex-wife Vicky's from Portsmouth, so I've got nephews down there. And a couple of years ago, my two nephews down there, Michael and Ryan, sent an article to my son James, their cousin, and they printed the list of top 10 underachievers at Portsmouth, and I came in third. So that
you made your mark. You made your mark, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But that was a great football club. I didn't probably realise how big a football club it was.
Yeah.
Till you turn up there, and like I'm a fresh-faced boy out of playing. Like when we first came at Portsmouth for Brentford was about sixth or seventh league game, something like that. And you turn up at Portsmouth and there's commissionaires on the door and all of these sort of, and it's just a fabulous, fabulous football stadium. And you don't only really when I left the club and went to Reading do you realise how big a club you've left.
That lovely thing, hindsight. So so you got 3 goals in 31 games there. Division 3 again. Had a loan spell at Third Division Exeter, 3 goals in 7 games. As you say, drops into Division 4 for the first time, and you moved to Reading, where you scored 7 goals in 51 appearances that season, but won promotion, only missed 1 game, I believe.
Yeah, I'd have to say that if I can say that I've been popular at, say, Cambridge and Southend, I would have to say I was unpopular.
See, that surprised me because they named a football team after you.
Yeah, I know. There was a group of lads there that formulated a team, and they called themselves the David Crown Steamers. They were my sort of like cheer group, as it were, because I think they thought that for instance, Trevor Senior, my big buddy who played up front, he did an article each week for the Reading Chronicle, and these are the days of only one sub. And in the year we won promotion, I played 45 out of 46 games. And at the end of the season, rather than print just the top 3 in the Player of the Year vote, they decided I think we had 16 in the squad, and the 16th lad was a lad by the name of Wayne Tutty, who was a non-contract player. Only probably played 3 or 4 games. And we've only 16 in the squad. You're going to play a lot of games. But they printed the list. And I came in 15th place with 18 votes, and a 15 out of 16.
So 18 people liked you then?
Well, no, Trevor Senior managed to drop to the rest of the lads after I'd made the comment, well, at least 18 people voted. Trevor Senior managed to drop in where he said, well, they gave everybody 15 to start. So 3 people. But
3 people loved you then?
Well, I'm not so sure loved me, but one of the situations I played up front, or in a 3 across the front with Trevor Senior and a lad by the name of Dean Horrocks. Now, unfortunately passed away. He was in a car accident, and he was a Jack.
Another Millwall boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, great footballer, Jack the lad, and he had the crowd going, and then there was me up front. Plus the fact we had a lad by the name coming through by the name of Michael Dukes. Now this is the day of only one sub
who. Obviously, as I think he broke his leg at Southend, sadly, didn't he? With the challenge with Dean Austin, we believe, many years later. Yeah.
And I was always getting subbed, and this was the days when they used to put the numbers up.
It was just a board. There was no electronic. It was a bit of board, wasn't it?
I'll go back to black and white days.
Yeah.
And always the number 11 would come up, and because I was left winger, and I'd always be coming off. And I jokingly in the dressing rooms turned round. I think again it was Trevor and Senior that corrected me. I said, I'm going to nick that number 11 out the bag. And I think he went, well, they'd probably put the 5 and the 6 up anyway to get you off anyway.
Right. So after that, the next season, Division 3, you're still done fairly well. 10 goals in 50 games.
Yeah.
And then again, if my pronunciation is wrong, you moved to Cambridge in the summer of '85. Ken Sciletto, who'd been impressed with you playing against Cambridge.
Yeah, Trevor had been out injured one game, and they played me up front for Reading at Cambridge, and he signed me as a centre forward. And that is from where, what should we say, what you would talk about if for the first 5 years of my career I was what you would like fondly known as a journeyman pro. I started to get some what should we say, personal glory, as it were. I broke the goal score in the first season. I didn't realise, to be fair, we were that bad a side, Cambridge. I think they'd had 2 successive...
Was you close to re-election the first year?
Yeah, we were in that bottom...
Yeah.
And that's what I'm touching on when we talk about the days, or what is good about the pyramid. In those days, the bottom 4 applied for re-election.
Yeah.
It was a
There's
close
no automatic promotion from non-league. No.
So, yeah, but
you got 24 goals, and I think, as you've just touched upon, that season, so Ken finally saw where you should be playing, so a lot of credit to Ken. You got 24 goals, and that was only just recently broken a couple of years ago by Paul Mullin before he moved on to Wrexham, wasn't it?
He stood for 35 years. I met Paul on a couple of occasions. Lovely lad. They called me up, and I had to, when he broke my record, I had to present him with an award, and then he presented.
Nice touch.
I think I probably still got it. It's probably another one of those trophies I've got that, what should we say, we can't have it on view in the house, but we could have him in my little office, up there.
Yeah, and you had a couple of decent cup results there in the League Cup. You scored the winner against Ipswich, which was obviously a great result, and a game against Spurs.
Yeah, we got through to play against Tottenham. We didn't play well on that day. It was a great night. We lost 3-1, but they had some players.
That was like Glenn Hoddle and people like that, then, wasn't it?
Glenn Hoddle, I think Waddle played, Good
times. So, 45 league goals in 116 games at Cambridge, which is, very decent. At the start of the 87-88 season, you rattle in another 9 in the first 17 for Cambridge United, which alerted third division strugglers Southend to your capabilities. And Paul Clark shelled out 50 grand for you, if I've got that fee right.
Yeah, it was 50 grand.
You made your debut the 14th of November 87 against Walsall in the Cup.
I had an absolute shocker.
Zip, 0-0.
Yeah, and lost the replay.
Yes, we did.
I can always remember the lads at the back of the bus mumbling, what have we signed here?
Well, we were saying that in the stands as well, to be fair.
Yeah, there was not so much mumblings as
So you were getting the fans on side again. But you were 29 then. It took you 4 games to get off the mark. Funnily enough, the first game you scored is York, who obviously we play. You got your goal there in a 3-0 win. And then it really started to turn around for you, and you really showed the Rootsall faithful what you're all about on a Friday night against Billy Bremner's Doncaster, where you notched them. We beat them 4-2.
Yeah, God, blimey, happy days.
You go on to score 17 goals in 28 league games that season in a struggling Southend side.
Yeah.
And we stayed up.
Yeah.
We stayed up, so it was money well spent. And 3 games that really stand out for me when I was looking through the games that season. Obviously, one of the key games that season, March 88, was Wigan at home.
Yeah, I remember that one.
2-0 down.
Yeah.
Big Roy.
And we knew it was a game. You always talk about must-win games, and no game is a must-win game.
But that was, wasn't it?
That was a must-win game.
Yeah, and I mean, they were like sitting in deck chairs with the cigars out first half, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
So Big Roy come on at half-time, Big Roy McDonough, he slotted in a pen. Martin Ling, he scored another one. Then talk us through, I mean, you will remember this, talk us through the goal, because this is a goal. See, my favourite was the goal he scored at Hereford the season after, to be fair. It was a couple of seasons up, that was a great goal. But this is the goal that all Southend fans remember you for.
I would like that. One of the lads in the lounge, Ian Atkins, a lovely man, who comes with his wife. He says that he's got all of the goals from that season on video. And I mean, again, we've touched on legacies. I'd love to be able to show my grandchildren, because now my 2 grandchildren just call me Grandad Chocolate, because all I ever do when I see them is buy them chocolate. So I'd like to be able to show them, excuse me, that what I used to do. But that goal it was in the stands. Look, I got the ball up just about, I suspect, in their half, and went on a little bit, and everybody's going, he's not going to shoot. He's not going to shoot from that. Oh, don't shoot from that. Oh, great goal. And it was one of those days. I'd love to be able to see it again.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Because I'd love to see how slim I was then.
We can get into them shorts later on.
Oh, dear me, no, the Blues there.
Anyway, massive win, as we said. A few weeks later, my first away game as a Southend fan, all the shot away when you got us a 1-0 win in the very last minute. And then that really memorable last home game of the season, scorching day, Blackpool.
Always a scorching day.
4-0 win.
Yeah.
And that it was a final day win to stay up, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember Peter Butler scoring.
Who followed you from Cambridge.
Yeah, he was great.
But I mean, it was just probably one of the most comprehensive victories you'll see, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we think we deserved to stay up, and that was one of the following season. David Webb's taken over from Paul Clark, and I was on a goal bonus, so that is perhaps why I was shooting from goal kicks. Like in that season, look, I've got nothing to hide. In that season, when I signed, I had to score 15 goals to get the bonus.
And what would the bonus have been in those days?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what it was. As an accountant with figures, if I scored 14 goals, the bonus was nothing. If I scored 15, it was £1,500 and then £100 per goal thereafter.
That's to be fair, a tidy sum in those days at that level, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I managed to spend it all. So her kids and then the following season, when you're there for a full season, it was 20 goals. So 19 was nothing, 20 was £2,000, and then the following season I get 29 goals. I must admit, we've touched on Vic. I had a row with him because I was trying to count the goals in the. It was probably the Leyland Daff then or something, and he was saying no, they don't count. I'm saying, well, yeah, but surely as well, if they don't count, goals in training, Vic must count.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned it's the Freight Rover Trophy.
Was it the Freight Rover?
And I remember a game against Lincoln at home where you scored 2. There was about 1,100 people at Rootsall, and I'd actually been told I wasn't allowed to go that night by my mum, and I climbed out my first-storey bedroom window, walked across the conservatory next door, jumped down the side, went to watch the game. You got your 2 goals, got home, she went to clout me and I smacked my head on the door and cut me eyebrow open. So I gave blood for you there, Dave.
They were great because I can remember we were Paul as manager was really struggling. And
so Clarkey was still in charge. He'd done a great job keeping us up, brought some great players in, some great butts, yourself, Paul Sansom,
great keeper.
Paul Brush, brought some really important players in. Started off the season great with a 2-0 win against Bolton. First game, Phil Brown playing for them. Massive pitch invasion, big punch-up, because I think they brought about 2,000 because they'd just come up. But Webby, the spectre of David... Don't call him Webby. No, the spectre of David Webb was still hanging around in the background. Obviously, he'd done well before, left for whatever reason, whether he'd fallen out with Vic Jobson or whatever.
Possibly.
Come back. I think he was spotted at a cup game at Bristol City.
Well, that's what happened. We lost away. We got the worst FA Cup draw. We were struggling anyway. We got the worst. It was seeded then in the south. We got Bristol City were top of what is in old money Division 3. We were drawn away, and we lost 3-1. And I think that was the one and only penalty. I missed that in that game. We came out, we trudged out, and Paul was you could tell was under pressure. And we looked at Vic Jobson's Jag. He was driving away, and David Webb was sitting in the front seat.
So you know what's happening, don't you? But how
and then we played Lincoln on the Tuesday, and then a couple of weeks later, David was in the job.
Well, he was brought in as general manager, wasn't he?
Right?
But and Clarkey was allegedly still manager. But I mean, that was never going to work. And I felt sorry. Did you feel sorry for Clarkey because Clarkey done an amazing job, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because he took over the season before a hard job.
Paul is one of the best coaches that I ever played under. You could see how he develops a training session. I played under Glenn Roeder, and Glenn, God rest his soul again, lovely man, but we just used to do anything, whereas Paul, you could actually see a thread through a training session of what he was trying to develop. And another hard man. And
well, he looked like he stepped off his Viking longship at the Thames Estuary, didn't he? And come down to Rootsall for a pillage.
You better not say that
to him. I wouldn't, mate. I wouldn't.
To be fair, he's possibly, I would say, he's got a bad hip. He's had a hip replacement, but he certainly lost. As opposed to me and most other footballers who put it on, I would say probably he's about the same size as he was playing weight.
Well, I'd never said nothing about his weight. You brought that up. So that's obviously you've got a problem with it. I said he looked like a Viking warlord. That's like strong and tough. That's what I was alluding to. So you've gone off on a tangent here. I think you need another biscuit. You need some sugar. Anyway, but Clarkey, to be fair, I thought it'd give him a second wind as a player, though, because maybe he'd struggled as a player because he was a very young player manager. He was only 30s, wasn't he?
And he's younger than me. Paul's younger than me.
He became a very important player at centre half again, didn't he?
Yeah, great footballer.
Yeah.
Great football.
Anyway, that season Webby's return didn't go to plan because we went down last game of the season despite beating Chester 1-0.
Yeah, it was a very disappointing day. We had to beat Chester, and Reading were at Chesterfield, and we thought Reading had lost and we were safe, and we were all in the dressing room celebrating, and then it came through. No, they got it round the wrong way. Reading had won, and we were relegated.
But that season, to me, as a young fan, there were some amazing games under the floodlights that year. Rootsall, I've always Friday night football. That's what I said. Midweek football, always special, magic.
I don't think there was ever a game at Southend I didn't enjoy.
Well, we expected you to score every week as fans.
So did I, because I was at the goal bonus. I certainly tried hard enough.
And you got 29 that season, but
29.
But 2 games that really stick out for me. 29 in the season where we went down, but 2 games that really stick out for me. Home games under floodlights, magical. Well, when we beat Wolves 3-1 at home, the Steve Ball side.
I've got a great Wolves story for you.
You got 2 and Tilly got 1. Okay, so tell us that and we'll go on to the next one.
So,
and they got promoted that year, obviously.
Yeah, they had a great front pair.
Steve Ball, Andy Much.
Yeah, great front. Steve Ball had got all the plaudits, but we had Shane Wesley, who was a superb footballer.
Who went to Wolves, obviously.
Yeah. On the back of marking Steve Bull out the game, he got his move to Wolves. So obviously it's Friday night. We went out for a drink afterwards to celebrate. And there was 4 of us. There was me, I believe it was Peter Johnson, and I know it was Danny O'Shea, who was Shane's big mate, and Shane. So we had our night out, and then typical, we're coming home. If you're with Shane, you don't obey rules of queues. He jumps straight to the front of the queue. Taxi pulls up, and he shouts to the taxi driver so everybody can hear him. Can you take 5, mate? So Danny pulls him to one side. He said, No, it's only Shane. 4 of us, Shane. He said, can you take 5, mate? Danny, Shane, it's only 4 of us. How drunk are you? There's 4 of us. He said, no. I've got Steve Bull in my pocket here. And that was Shane.
That's a great one.
Yes, that was Shane. And like, I mean, he's had a lot of injuries, and hopefully you're well, Shane.
Yeah.
And Danny's out in Australia.
Right. And also that season, another team to get promoted, despite us going down. We beat all these teams.
Yeah.
We did the double over Sheffield United, and there was another great game at Rootsall. Harry Bassett's Sheffield United, Brian Dean obviously got the first Premier League goal in the end. We beat him 2-1 at home. Big Roy with his diving header. Steve Thompson, the future Blues manager, scoring an own goal.
Well,
but another great game under the floodlights.
I can't remember that one. I didn't score.
What's that? You don't remember that? Assist?
Well, dear me. Didn't get any money for assists.
But so we turned it on against these big sides, but we as I say, we still got relegated despite that final day. Anyway, the next season we're back in the basement, back in the 4th division. There was 89-90 season. There was always rumours that maybe Norwich or someone were interested in you.
Well, it's one of the stories that probably relates to why I decided to leave
at the end of the 89-90 season.
Yeah. So I had a clause in my contract that if a club came in for me, I was entitled to 10% of the fee. And I was told, reliably informed, that they had quoted £250,000 to Ipswich to want to sign me. I would say...
And you're obviously in your early 30s now, aren't you?
I'm in my early 30s. I would say that I think that if I look at, and I'm being brutally honest, if I look at my career then, I suspect a 31-year-old forward in this day and age that probably would have gambled. But at 32, look, most people say you're finished in your early 30s. I think that now footballers, with all of the improvements in medical science, etc., and the money involved, they look after themselves a lot better. And, hopefully they do. And possibly they would have gambled, but... they wouldn't gamble on a 30. Well, I was 32 in the February of 90. So that then when we came to the end of the season, and I thought I'd fulfilled every term of my contract. That club would argue, well, you got paid well to reward it. I asked for a £25,000 signing on fee.
This is why you left at the end of that season.
Yeah. And
so you was out of contract. And you scored 24 goals that season.
Yeah, and we won promotion and all of those sorts of things. And I get that people who, what should we say, I'm probably got a one-eyed look at this, but people with other views would go, well, you were just part of a team, David. It wasn't just you that got promotion, but I thought I'd fulfilled every part of my contract. And because the clause was in the contract that I was entitled to 10% of the fee, and I'd been reliably informed Ipswich had been quoted £250,000 to sign me, I asked for a £25,000 signing on fee.
So this is making sense now, because I remember talking about the goal balancing. I remember being in the North Bank towards the end of the season. I think Rochdale scored an own goal in a win at home, and you were desperately trying to claim it. And it's blatantly an own goal. So now I'm understanding it.
I could assure you I claimed worse than that. One time at Cambridge, I was going clean through on goal. And one of the things that you learn, that you must know where the goal announcer is in the crowd. So I'm going clean through on goal. Tommy Taylor's, we're playing against the Orient. Tommy Taylor's following me, the centre half. No, sorry, Tommy Cunningham. I shoot it, hits the goalkeeper, it rebounds and hits Tommy Cunningham and then goes that way into the net, and I claimed that one.
Did you get the bonus?
There was no bonus at Cambridge. No,
Anyway,
no. Yeah.
back to that season. So we've gone down. Webby's got his feet properly under. David's got his feet properly under the table now.
Yes.
We have a good run in the cup.
Yeah,
we beat Colchester home and away. You get 3 goals in those, which obviously endears you even more to the home fans. And then obviously we set up that 2-legged game against Spurs.
Yeah.
Now for all the younger Southend fans, or say younger now, it was a long time ago now, seeing us beat Man United and Rooney and Ronaldo, this was. So Southend were Championship when they played Man United. We are 4th Division, bottom league, against top flight Spurs. They've got Lineker. They've got Paul Gascoigne. Lots of other good players. The year that England went and got to the semi-finals of the World Cup in Italy.
That was when Gazza was at his pomp, when he ate it. That was before he's done his... I think he did his knee 91.
Yeah.
And he was just... That night, he was just not only he was unplayable as a footballer, but also just a great lad. You can see...
Was he chirpy?
Yeah.
Could you understand him?
What'd you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on the shorts aspect, how short the shorts were, particularly mine, and he was taking the mickey out of me, rolling his shorts up. But just a great lad.
Playing with a smile on his face.
Yeah, a football nut. I mean, his crime, in my opinion, was loving football too much. Like you mentioned Gary Lineker. You do recognise in football, when you get older, that there is a time when enough is enough. Like I can remember sitting in the dressing room at Brentford when I got off to a flyer back in 1980, and Pat Cruz, the centre half, saying to me, "You'll know when you can't do it when your legs are gone." And looking at him and going, "What's he talking about? Legs gone? When your legs go, especially somebody like me who's relying on your pace, you know it is enough. Whereas Gazza just wanted to play. They always say the way to discipline Gazza was not to allow him to train, because he just wanted to be in the camaraderie of the group and with the lads. And that's at most, as you get a bit older, training becomes more of a bind, shall we say. And like, I mean, particularly when I was at the Gills, I could get myself injured in training, and those sorts of things. Where Gazza just loved the whole aspect of football.
Anyway, so we got beat 1-0 at White Hart Lane in the first game. Terry Fenwick, bit of a scruffy header. Yeah. Set it up brilliantly for the second game. A full house at Roots Hall. Dave Martin scores an header for us to level it up early doors, doesn't he? Yeah. We win the game 3-2 on the night, Dave. Gary Bennett got a couple.
Yes.
Big Roy got his obligatory sending off.
Yes, Paul Stewart for them.
You had a great game, your usual stuff, the entertainer, the pace, working the channels as well as through the centre. You had a great game. It was a brilliant match to watch.
Yes.
Like I say, it was 4th Division Southend against top flight Spurs. I actually kicked in the car park at Roots Hall. This was October, wasn't it? To get tickets for that game. Oh. Sleeping between a Ford Fiesta and an old truck, breathing in the fumes all night, which is probably why I turned out like I did. But it was a massive game. And I know you hate me asking you this, Dave. Yeah, but there we are. It's free on aggregate. Away goals count. You're through at the death, Dave. Eric Torsfit, looking into his eyes.
I will still swear on my granddaughter's life, Summer and Lana, that when I go through I didn't hit it as well as I went. Peter Butler had won another 50-50. How many of them did he win in his career? And it ball just broke to me. And I'm going, and it's perfect for me. I'm on the angle, and I go hard and low, as you've been coached all your life, across the keep. I didn't hit it really sweetly, but I hit it well enough, and it hit the inside of the post. I swear, Joe, I'll go to my grave saying, and if you think if it hits the inside of the post, it should rebound.
You got a chance, haven't you? Yeah,
and it's come out.
Yeah,
and I wonder. Like, I look at life, and I go, if that. Like we're talking about, would you about ifs and buts and maybes, and I've had a lovely life, and I don't want to change anything. But I just wonder, because when I got the move to Portsmouth, it was a big move, a big club, and did football look at me? I didn't do well at Portsmouth, I can't pretend otherwise. There was circumstances going on, but I didn't play well. And did football look at me and go, he can't cope with, if I'm being brutally honest, he can't cope with a big scenario. He wants to be a big fish in a small pond. Whereas if I go to play, but if that had gone in and we'd beaten Spurs, because David didn't like it, but I had an agent then and I'd had a lot. I can remember there was an article in the Mirror beforehand where Jimmy Greaves, God rest his soul, had spoken out about me, and this is a lower division player that deserves a chance.
Someone should pick him up.
But it stayed out because of them that part. But
a great game.
I mean, and what for people that for the younger element, if you can get hold of it. The second game at Rootsall, if you can get hold of the video, has got.
It's on YouTube. It's got everything on it.
Yeah,
the perfect game.
We get wired. Well, a terrible word. We get wired in. There's some unbelievable. Paul Roberts, my good mate. He absolutely flies into that.
Paul Stewart gets sent off as well, doesn't he?
Paul Stewart gets sent off.
Yeah.
It was everything going on. Great goals like. Naeem played up against Andy Dixon and gave him twisted blood where he turned it. Like he had both cartridges taken out of the knees, Andy, where he's twisting and turning by Naeem.
Mad.
But we gave Gary Bennett 2 great goals. Roy getting sent off again. And then I can always remember Gazza coming up to us afterwards and what he was as a person, and it's heartbreaking he's obviously got issues.
Where he is now, yeah.
But just a great lad. And I suspect if you talk about people changing their lives, and you cannot, and I get that, but as you say, as you get older, legacy, etc., you look at things, I bet you he would have been, if he had, I think that he always had that aspect in him, but he would have been a world beater if he hadn't done his knee.
Absolutely.
He was just just got on the ball. I mean, that year at the Tottenham, that was 91. Some of the games I remember seeing. He just run games, didn't he?
Yes.
And just scored goals, and he had the lot.
It was 3-3 in the end. We won 3-2 on the night, so it was a great victory. We went out on away goals 3-3 over the 2 games. But one thing in football, it swings and roundabouts. Things usually even themselves out. It was a good season. We tried our best to chuck it away a little bit. It was obviously the first season of the playoffs, I believe, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think so.
So going into the last game of the season, Dave, where we had to win at Peterborough on the final day to ensure we got 3rd spot on automatic promotion, which they still had an outside chance of getting as well.
Yeah, they were still in there, weren't they? They were going in the playoffs, weren't they?
You redeemed yourself, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I scored... all I can remember that day is about the Viking out. I've got photos here. I've got a Viking out.
Yeah, but in the picture when you're being lifted up, I was in the crowd that day. Don't tell me why I went up on the supporters club clothes. I had a rubber ring around my waist, a gold glittery wig on, and a Viking helmet. Couldn't tell you why, because we took about 1,500 that day, didn't we?
All I can remember is
another
how
day.
Hot it was.
Yeah,
it was unbelievably hot. And I goalkeeper made a mistake with one, and then went under him, and then the other one, you can't quite see. It got a faint deflection, and the goalkeeper, that one went in. So we won 2-1, and I got both goals. And looking back, it was with hindsight a bad decision to go to the Gills. Again, I would still say, given all of the set of circumstances, I'd have to make the same decision. 32 years of age, Gillingham offering me more and more money, etc., etc. But it's a lovely memory to look back that was my last game for
perfect
Southend.
way to what you can't ask for a more perfect sign.
Well, the only trouble was, you say it was a perfect way to end. Sort of 9-10 months later, when 12 months later, when I'm coming back on the coach from a Gills game, and the Southend supporters pull up at the same service station, they're celebrating promotion to the Championship, and I'm on the back of the bus for the Gills.
But so how did that make you feel? Because I was going to say, all right, you hit the post against Spurs, but those 2 goals at Peterborough, in the grand scheme of things, Southend going on to get their first ever promotion to the 2nd tier, were far more important than a one-off game.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way I think you have to look at it, Dave.
Well,
so please let it go now. Yeah. After all these years, feel redeemed.
Bitter and twisted,
feel redeemed, okay?
Bitter and twisted crowd of Holbridge. But when look, to repeat myself, I don't look back. When I was 20 years of age, I was playing for Grays. I was playing for £10 a week. Got the chance to go to Walthamstow. and had a great time at doubled my wages to go to Walthamstow. Like, I was promised a £200 signing on fee by Walthamstow if I could get away for nothing. Couldn't get away for nothing, so I didn't get the £200 signing on fee. All comes back to money with me, doesn't it?
That's why you're an accountant, Dave.
Yeah. And so if somebody then had said to me, you're going to have 13 years as a pro footballer, you're going to have times, you're going to play at White Hart Lane, you're going to have promotions, you're going to hold a goal scoring record. In the year 89-90, you're going to be voted by your peers into the PFA team. I'd have gone, yeah, I'll have that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But I'll just mention, you went to Gillingham, as you said.
Yes.
You still got 48 goals in 101 games, unbelievable record. But just looking, just as we finish off, just a little bit at your time at Southend again, you played with some great boys there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, it was a great team. Paul Sanson, probably for me, apart from Flavs, keep pushing him, the greatest keeper ever to play for the club that I saw.
I would say that. I'm probably unbiased. What Sammy didn't have was he was... Look, Simon Royce, absolutely, and I know him, I still know him, see him occasionally, like, he absolutely looks the part, Simon. Sammy... unassuming, etc., didn't have that, what's the word? What's the right wording? Let's just a superb goalkeeper,
all round,
great lad, absolutely off the pitch. He chuck in things. One time we were sitting in the dressing room at Wigan. And Roy, he didn't used to do it offensively, but...
Roy McDonough?
Yeah, Roy. If you said something, he could always top it, Roy. Always. And
sharp as a tack.
We were sitting in the dress at Wigan, which is the old, was it Springfield Road?
Springfield Park.
Springfield Park. Somebody said something, and Roy topped it, and Sammy, quick as a flash, went, Roy, if I had an elephant, you'd have it the box to put it in, wouldn't you? Just those sorts of things.
He didn't say much when he did it. He hit the hammer on the hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, great lad.
Dave Martin.
Oh, Dave, where'd you start with Dave? Dave.
Hard as nails. Oh, scored some very important goals.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Roberts, our other mate, always sort of... What Dave was that he was hard, but he was brave. Play with injuries. Look, I wouldn't play with a tongue tie up on me socks. But Dave would play through pain barriers, and he just legendary off the park as well. He just like we once went to a golf tour a while ago. No, a few years ago, and Dave went to Paul. He said, "Can't stop for the meal afterwards, I've got to go so-and-so. What we do, we'll have a quick 4 pints. Not a quick pint. With Dave, it's quick 4 pints. And he just like... And he was a superb footballer.
Yes, he was, yeah.
A superb footballer.
And maybe one, again, who got a bit of stick off the crowd, but turned it around and became a very important part of those two promotions under David Webb.
And you look at... and David couldn't... they got beat, didn't they? At the story goes, they got beat away at Roker Park. This was just before my time.
The 7-0 defeat.
7-1, I think it was.
It was 7-0. Gabbiadini and Eric Gates got the goals.
Anyway, David has them in the day after, at midday, for your debrief. So you've got to come up with the answer as to why you got beat. So somebody's in the dressing room. And David Webb used to bounce. He was his club captain. He used to bounce off of Davey. He knew he could get into him, and it was a good sort of group mentality. So Davey cannot get a sentence out without an F or a what's his name in. He cannot, he's not very eloquent. So it comes to Dave. Somebody said, "Oh, they started well, or perhaps the journey was in the legs."
It's a midweek game as well. Yeah.
So it comes to David. Well, Gaffer. Well, what's his name? Basically, Gaffer, we give them 3 foot, and they took a yard. I wasn't there. That's the story that all the other lads do. I wasn't there at the time, but and that was Davey, and he was just an absolute character.
And you'd want him in the trenches with you if you were having a ruck, didn't you?
Absolutely. You wouldn't want me. I think that was one of the coaching points David made. If there's any trouble, I want all 10 of you in there. Crowder, you stay out the way.
Another loose cannon. Roy McDonald,
Oh, Roy,
your strike partner.
Where do I start with? Wow, one of the greatest people you will ever want to meet. One of the great. He just brings a tear to my eye thinking about Roy. My introduction, I think, to Roy. I signed in the November. In the December, we had the lads' Christmas do, and we knew the lads. We had a meal booked, and then we were going on for a drink. And we were. I think we'd all got changed because we knew the Samuels family, and they owned the Westcliff Hotel. So we'd gone back there for a drink. A couple of lads had got changed, and we've been drinking all day. And anybody that knows me knows that I can't drink at all. And when I sniff at a barmaid's apron, and I'm gone. And so we've been drinking all day. It's 10, 11 o'clock at night, and somebody bet Roy he couldn't drink a pint in 5 seconds. Now, I couldn't even see me hand in front of me face. I was that far gone. He said, put a drop of blackcurrant in it and I'll do it. And sure enough, he did. He was just legendary. And he was a better player than people give him credit for.
Yeah, because he was a divisive character. I loved him, but you either loved him or hated him, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, famous story, when he was sub, like he'd lumber out of get his warm-up going, like, get on there, Roy, get on there, mate, and go and show him your stuff. Within 2 minutes, he'd be getting on there, get off, Roy, you're useless. But no, he could play, Roy, and it was a great, just like Benji, who I also played up front with for a while, were a great foil for me, and I like, talking about all the bonuses that I got for scoring the goals. Roy was as responsible as anybody else for me getting them goals, because he would occupy both the centre backs. He'd be charging around, elbows, and I would be feeding off the scraps.
And to be honest, he probably had a really great game that night against Spurs, didn't he? Because they changed the centre off 3 times, didn't they? Van den Hal, Michael Thomas.
I mean, at that time,
Mitchell Thomas. Sorry.
Yeah, at that time he was vying with Mario the Lounge.
Mario Walsh, yeah.
Mario the Lounge Lizard Walsh for a play, and I think David had been playing Mario because he'd signed him, and then when it came to that game, he left. Or it might have been a couple of games before, but I know Matt. Roy played and Mario was sub, I believe. So yeah, but no,
he played the whole game. Yeah. Got a great character
until he played the whole game until he had, as you
it's
say.
in extra time though, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. I know he was tired.
Until he did Steve Sedgley, and you see that clip of him. He goes out and he turns around to have another go back at the ref, and Paul Roberts pushes him away, doesn't he? But he got a standing ovation. He had a great game.
Yeah.
One more to talk about. I have to ask you, David Webb.
Oh, Mr. Webb. Well, look, I still see him occasionally. He knows people actually in the village, and knows two. In
Aldbridge, where you are, yeah.
Yeah, he got 2 good friends, Tony Cole and Keith Hughes, and the aspect is going to come that I didn't get on with him. I don't believe that's true. I think he thought that, look, one of David's management tactics is nobody is bigger than the group. So he would specifically target the big hitters. And obviously I was one of the big hitters, because what he was saying to the group is nobody is bigger than the team. And he tried to make that apparent to me in different ways. But I believe that I showed him that I wanted to be part of the group. I wanted to be part of the club. Unfortunately, when it came to the end, again with hindsight, he was right in letting me go. I'd had a bad hamstring, and he probably looked at it. He's a 32-year-old forward that I can get serious money for, that relies on his pace, so he probably is not going to play for that many more years. So, he traded, he sold me, got Brett Angel in, and the rest is history. And like, we all move on. And you can't say, if you were to line up sort of 100 supporters or however many, you'd have to go, well, the manager got the right decision. David Crown might have done what David Crown, the barrack room lawyer, wanted to do in leaving. But to my view on the decision to leave, it was because I felt that I was not being appreciated financially. That's how I would look at it. And if I was 22, look, my ex-wife Vicky, or the mother of my son James, she was pregnant. You know, that's in the June, July of 90. He's born November 90. Did I want to move? Did I want to move family-wise with my wife being pregnant? Of course I did.
No, because club-wise, it was a backwards move, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was a backman. I'm going back a division. I have to say, I looked at the squad the Gills had, and I looked at the, the bonus structure and what they were prepared. I thought we were. If I compared the side that I was joining at Gills and the one that I'd left at Southend, I thought the Gills, especially me, we had better players. We didn't have we certainly didn't have the team spirit, and probably, I mean, this is being derogatory to Damien Richardson, the manager that signed for that I got on very well with. He wasn't of the same calibre of manager as David. Yeah. David will go down as the best manager I ever played for,
and probably the best manager in Southend history, in my book.
Yeah, but I suspect Tillywood might argue that, and hopefully Kevin will be up there rivaling them in the future.
Well, from myself, and I'm sure a lot of the other Southend fans
listening to this. You don't think
Stuart
Robson? No.
Would you like to speak about Stuart Robson?
No, the only point was Rob was criticised, or we were being criticised under Rob for having like a manager and two assistants in me and Steve, and then Ron decided to appoint Stuart Robson, but Rob always used to call him the gift because Ron said to him, he's not coming out of your budget, he's a gift.
Well, we'll quickly touch on that then. Quickly. Okay, I can remember, it's very bizarre. We played Cambridge away, I think it was a Christmas game, and I got a call at the Echo on the desk from Stuart Robson asking me if Rob was still the manager. Okay? That's for definite. And then, obviously, we're a long way down the line. I remember covering a game at Scunthorpe one night. Rob was on his own because Ron had given him no backup. And you were doing the radio that night on BBC Essex, and you actually went up to Rob. You didn't really know Rob. To say, look, I can see you're stuck here, mate. If you need someone to come in and give you a hand, you're offered your services. And that's how it happened.
Yeah. I saw Rob do the warm-up. He had one other staff member, John Gowans, Johnny G, doing the physio. And all I said to him, I wasn't touting for a job. I quite enjoyed working on the radio because I've got a face for radio. And, and there was no pressure.
No, you wanted to help. You wanted to help, didn't you? You could say you needed some help.
Yeah, and I just said, look, I wasn't looking for a job. I just said, look, you come up to do the interviews if you need a second, because you can't, like, as a manager, you need, and you see it now. I mean, they have quite a few helpers. In those days, it probably weren't as many assistants, but it certainly seems like that now most setups seem to be a three-man setup, don't they?
It's changed completely, yeah.
Whereas Rob was doing it all on his own. And I just said to him, what did you think? Should he have done this? Should he have done that? Should he scored that? Well, whatever. From there, he just invited me in, and I had a few. Took the forwards for a little while, and I don't think it was anything to do with me because the forwards will score the goals. But Mark Rule started to play well. Barrington Belgrade, Tess, who was always out of all of them, was a good player.
He was a good player, Tess Brown. We had a lot of potential.
Whatever he's done, the rest of his. But he was another one, a bit like Kevin. Like with the Bobby Ferguson setups sessions. Tess could grab all of the things that Bobby would do. A few of them couldn't, like Barrington and Mark Rule. Stuart Thurgood, another lad, he could always grab what was the idea of the
and obviously
session.
Leon Court as well.
Yeah, Leon, another
player.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, we divulged, but back to Stuart Robson.
Yeah.
So you guys were obviously in charge. I had that phone call on the I think it was for the Boxing Day game. From I think it's top of my head. I get the call to Rootsall about 3 months later. Ron Martin wants to see you. You, as per usual, be there at 2. So I'm still sitting downstairs at the bottom of the lift in reception at 3 o'clock because he used to like to make you wait. I think he enjoyed it. And I get introduced to Stuart Robson. He's coming in as coach to work to give you and Rob Newman a bit of help. Yeah. And I remember Rob being really put out about it. And I'm pretty sure that I remember rightly that he told me that you just let him pick up cones and bibs for a while because you didn't want him there, did you?
Well, yeah. I mean, at the look. I was very much, what should we say? It was in that year. It was more like, obviously, Rob was the manager, and Steve was a very, very good coach. I basically was the cheerleader, and just tried to get the lads.
Cheerleader or jester?
Well, yes,
But it was forced on you. You hadn't asked them to come in.
But look,
you know that people like that. No, I'm not just saying Stuart Robinson, but anyone that's brought in from the outside, because you have to be close. You know, there's a chance they're looking for your job, don't you?
Well,
and maybe not so much you, but Rob.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, I left in 2003. And when I look back, it was the best thing when Ron decided not to renew my contract. That was the right thing for me.
He sacked you, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, brutal as ever.
No, but you already had that mindset. But you obviously felt loyal to Rob, and
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, at the end of the first season, I'd gone in the November. That would be November 2001 to May 2002, and obviously. Rob wanted to bring in Steve as a good coach, and I actually said to Rob, I said, look, I don't mind stepping down now, but Rob, because he was such a good man himself, no, he said, you've stuck with me, I want you to do it. So then we've got 2 assistant managers, and but
someone's going to fall at the base of that. And obviously, at the end of the season, you and Rob were gone, weren't you?
We were gone,
and Stuart Robson was allowed to work with the next manager.
Yeah.
So just one other lad, Steve Wignall. Just one last one. One lad I loved, just for his line really, that you boys had there, and I think it was after Chesterfield away we played. Stephen Broad.
Yeah, great
character, and you can imagine as a football journalist or as a football editor. You are recycling the same thing time and time again.
You want somebody.
So you wanted something fresh, yeah?
Yeah, you want something.
And he gave me the best line ever. He played that. It was an FA Cup match, I think, at Chesterfield, and we got a draw.
Yeah, I remember.
He was about 18 on loan from Chelsea. Rob was 39, centre half.
Yeah, I was in charge of the team.
At Saltergate. And I always remember speaking to him afterwards, like obviously the fresh face on the block. And he came up to me afterwards. He said, "Do you know what?" He said, "I'm buzzing. It's been the most amazing thing to play today. But the main reason being that is." That I used to have Rob Newman in my Panini sticker album when I was at primary school. No. So one, a great quote, but two, you can imagine the ribbon that went on after that.
Out Rob Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, Rob Buzz Lightyear, Desperate Dan.
He didn't like that, did he? No, Buzz Lightstack.
Anyway, mate, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
As from myself and I'm sure other fans, you were such a great player to watch.
Thank you.
You were a real entertainer. Yeah. One of those characters in a team of characters.
Yeah, we did have a team of characters. But what I would like to say is that, yes, some of the clubs I played at, I didn't do well, like Portsmouth, but I would always like to think, like what I say to any young kid, as long as you give your best and give full value.
That's the same advice I give to my son Evan
now.
Just
try your best.
On a final note, just a message to the fans with what's going on at the moment.
Keep supporting the team. Keep getting behind Kev and the team. They're doing you proud, and I'm sure that it will change eventually, because what you learn at 65 years of life, nothing's going to stay the same. It has to change at some stage, doesn't it?
Yes. Thank you very much, Dave.
My pleasure.